My name is Ray Ranker, and I am a seminary student at the Lutheran Theological Seminary of Philadelphia. I'm originally from Baltimore. I'm studying to be an ordained pastor. Most of my involvement in human rights work with the church is an international scope. I started off, I guess, with the first meaningful experience that I had internationally was as a young adult in global mission in Argentina. I worked for the Ecumenical Movement for Human Rights, which included Roman Catholic and many Protestant denominations and the Orthodox also. And I worked there for 1 year working with trade agreements, working against trade agreements that were not fair to the Latin American countries, especially the Free Trade Agreement of the Americas. This really got me excited about the ecumenical movement and human rights, and the church's involvement in human rights. And from there I planned several trips, service trips to Brazil and several in Africa, the Middle East and Europe, in order to be on the ground, see the human rights situations in these countries, learn from people firsthand, and see what's happening. A lot of that work came through the Lutheran World Federation and other church-affiliated organizations. I really see faith as an integral part of human rights because of my understanding of who I am and what the church is and the teachings of Jesus Christ. We have from the Bible examples from Amos, Isaiah, especially in the Old Testament, calling for justice for the people, especially the poor, the widows, the foreigners, the marginalized, calling for the human rights for everybody. And of course we have the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, especially loving thy neighbor, understanding myself as a child of God and all people as children of God really means that universal human rights is an essential part of that. The first time I can really remember being involved in human rights was as a youth at a church youth event. People asked us to sign postcards to lobby our representatives to pass a bill banning landmines. And that was really the first time I got involved and really saw that there is stuff that I can do as a United States citizen. But I don't think the full impact hit me on human rights until I was meeting people at a global mission event with the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. I met many different people who were affected by lack of human rights in their countries and their stories, and then actually being able to go to different places and see the stories everywhere. It just continues to impact me. And especially once you see those stories, meet those people, it gets written on your heart, and you can't let go of that. There are many stories. One especially that had a profound impact on me was in South Africa. I was working at an AIDS orphanage called Nkosi's Haven, and it's named after a young boy who had HIV and AIDS, and he was sick, and he didn't understand why he should be treated any differently than anybody else. He wanted the basic human right of especially getting an education. And there was an uproar in the school from different parents. What would happen if their child was sitting next to a child with AIDS? What if they were playing on the playground together? All these different things. And push came to shove, and eventually the Congress was forced to step in and pass a bill saying that you could not discriminate, that even everybody, regardless of their health, had a right to education. And I never met this boy. He died before I was in South Africa, but I saw all the kids of this AIDS orphanage especially. Some of them have AIDS, some of them don't. All their parents have been affected, and therefore their family have been affected, and they all deserved human rights. They all enjoyed their human rights, and still found ways, even with this disease that had crippled their family, to live their life. And this orphanage was providing food and shelter and health care, basic human rights that they wouldn't have been able to have without that help. I'm familiar with all the articles, especially in my work in Argentina. Um, One that I especially want to highlight is actually more about the history behind how it became a part of the Declaration. That's the 18th article, freedom of thought and religion. A professor at my now seminary, Fred Nolde, was very instrumental in getting that included in the Declaration. And to me, it's a really powerful story of how church and human rights do go together, and people of faith, people of the church, church leaders need to be involved in this issue and press for human rights for all people. I think that the church is not teaching us as much as it could and should regarding human rights in this country. We have several advocacy and public policy offices that do a great job, including the Lutheran Office for World Community. But unfortunately, they don't have so many staff people that they can get to every single congregation and have a chance to talk with everybody. So what I think is necessary is to have a real grassroots kind of movement, appreciation and understanding of human rights and defense of human rights. And unfortunately, I haven't seen that in my experience with the church. And I think part of that has to do with our context. In the United States, especially younger people hear about human rights violations in this country, and we think about it as the past, as oh, well, the civil rights movement, that happened, that's done. And we may encounter people who did have violations of their human rights in this country, but we either see that as being history or as a few isolated cases that aren't systemic, but maybe just some abuse by individuals. And unfortunately, that's not the case in this country. I think there are plenty of human rights that are being violated on a daily basis. But we also then don't think about human rights and their importance. We enjoy different human rights that we don't even realize and can't really appreciate. And to other people in the world, these human rights are right in their face every single day. They're challenged by their governments, by organizations and such, and being denied these basic human rights that we enjoy here. Faith and the church, human rights are a core part of who we are and our understanding of God and the fact that God loves every single person anywhere, regardless of race, religion, gender, any of those things. We should be living that out. I think there's two big reasons, and besides it being central to what we believe, it's a way that we can be a public witness to show people what it is, what our faith means, how it does play a role in our everyday life and everybody's everyday life, to stand up for the marginalized and the oppressed, and to support people in their quest for human rights. These are two reasons that the church really should care about it, because we're not at a point where everybody is enjoying the basic human rights that they need to.